There's a shrimp that punches so hard it boils the water around its fist, produces a flash of light visible to laboratory cameras, and briefly generates temperatures that exceed the surface of the sun. And it's still not the strongest creature on this list. Not even close. The animal that holds that title is so ordinary looking, so easy to ignore, that you've almost certainly walked past one without knowing it existed. We'll get there. But first, we need to start at the very beginning, a time when nothing on this planet could exert any force at all, and work forward through 500 million years of escalation, extinction, and one biological arms race after another, each more extreme than the last. For the first 3 billion years of life on Earth, strength didn't exist. Single cells drifted. Bacterial mats grew. Nothing grabbed anything. Nothing crushed anything. The very concept of physical force had no application, because no organism needed to overpower any other organism. There were no predators, no prey, no competition that required muscle. Even when multicellular life finally appeared during the Ediacaran period, roughly 635 to 541 million years ago, the animals were soft, frond-shaped, quilted, flat things that sat on the seafloor and absorbed nutrients from the water. No mouths, no claws, no hard parts of any kind. If you picked one up, it would have been the most traumatic physical event in that creature's evolutionary history. Then, 541 million years ago, the Cambrian explosion detonated. In a geological instant, about 20 million years, animal body plans diversified faster than at any other point in Earth's history. Shells appeared, jaws formed, claws sharpened, muscles attached to rigid structures for the first time. And one animal ate another. That single act, predation, invented strength. Because the moment one creature could crush another, the crushed creature had two paths: build stronger armor or die. And the predator had two paths: get stronger or starve. A feedback loop locked into place. It has been running for 500 million years. It has never stopped, and it built everything that follows. The first predator worth calling an apex was Anomalocaris, a meter-long arthropod with circular jaws and compound eyes containing 16,000 lenses, the most advanced visual system on the planet at the time, in a world where most animals couldn't see at all. It hunted trilobites, hard-shelled creatures that were among the first animals to evolve external armor. Fossil trilobites have been found with healed bite marks matching Anomalocaris's mouthparts. Some survived the attack. Their shells held. They reproduced, and their offspring inherited thicker shells. The ones with thinner shells? Gone, filtered out by a predator that could crack them open. Within a few million years, trilobite shells got measurably thicker in the fossil record. Direct evidence of the arms race accelerating in real time, preserved in stone. That's the engine. Armor gets thicker. Jaws get stronger. Both keep escalating, generation after generation, with extinction as the penalty for falling behind. The next major breakthrough was the jaw itself. Before jaws evolved, vertebrates were filter feeders, soft-mouthed fish that sucked nutrients from the water. Around 430 million years ago, the bony arches that supported fish gills were repurposed into hinged structures that could bite. This wasn't just an upgrade. It was a new category of weapon. Suddenly, vertebrates could grip, tear, and crush things that were previously untouchable. And once jaws existed, evolution spent the next 400 million years making them more devastating. The Dunkleosteus is where jaws got terrifying. This was a 10-meter armored fish from the Devonian period, roughly 380 million years ago. It didn't have teeth. Instead, its jaw was lined with sharpened bone plates that functioned like blades. And here's the detail that makes engineers uncomfortable: those plates were self-sharpening. Every time the jaw closed, the upper and lower plates ground against each other and honed their edges. A guillotine that gets sharper with every cut. That was this animal's mouth. Its bite force is estimated at over 6,000 newtons. Nothing in the ocean at that time could withstand it. Dunkleosteus sat at the top of the food chain for millions of years, unchallenged. But the Devonian was just the warm-up round. Fast forward 300 million years. Dinosaurs have come and gone through their entire reign, and the undisputed king of bite force has arrived. Tyrannosaurus rex. Estimated bite force, 35,000 to 57,000 newtons. Those jaws didn't slice, they demolished. The teeth were shaped like thick, curved railroad spikes, built to punch through bone, not cut around it. And we know T. rex ate the skeleton because its fossilized feces contain pulverized bone fragments. This animal bit through solid bone, digested it, and passed it. That's not a predator. That's a mobile industrial crusher. But even T. rex wasn't the ceiling. In the oceans, something bigger was biting harder. Megalodon, Otodus megalodon, dominated the seas from roughly 15 million to 3.6 million years ago, 18 meters long, jaws wide enough to fit a small car inside. Biomechanical models estimate its bite force at up to 182,000 newtons. That's roughly 11 times stronger than a saltwater crocodile, the most powerful biter alive today. And we have the evidence. Fossilized whale bones, full-grown whales, have been found with megalodon bite marks carved into their ribs and spines. This animal hunted things the size of school buses, and it won. Today, the saltwater crocodile holds the record for strongest measured bite among living animals, 3,700 pounds per square inch, or about 16,500 newtons. That jaw design hasn't changed significantly in 80 million years. When your mouth already generates 20 times the force of a human bite, evolution doesn't have much left to improve. So, the crocodile is the strongest animal alive. Case closed. Except it's not even close, because everything above measures one specific kind of strength, and when you switch the measurement, the entire ranking collapses. Absolute strength, how much raw force an animal produces, favors the giants. The African elephant pushes down trees with a trunk containing 40,000 muscles. For context, the entire human body has about 600. A single elephant trunk has nearly 70 times the muscular complexity of your whole body, and it can lift 300 kilograms with it, about the weight of a grand piano, hoisted like a paper bag. The blue whale scales strength into another dimension entirely. The largest animal that has ever lived, bigger than any dinosaur, propels 150 metric tons through open ocean with a tail generating over 500 horsepower. When a blue whale accelerates, the force produced by its tail fluke exceeds what most commercial boat engines can manage, and it does this while holding its breath. A silverback gorilla at 180 kilograms can lift an estimated 800, roughly 10 times a strong human. Gorilla muscle fibers are denser and more efficiently arranged than ours, with a mechanical advantage in raw force output that their size alone doesn't explain. A gorilla doesn't look dramatically bigger than a large man. It's roughly 10 times more powerful. The mismatch between appearance and capability is part of what makes them so startling up close. These are impressive numbers. They're also misleading, because they ignore the most important variable in the physics of strength, body weight. The moment you measure how much an animal can move relative to its own mass, the elephants and whales vanish from the leaderboard, and the insects take their place. A leaf-cutter ant carries fragments 50 times its own body weight while climbing vertical surfaces. A rhinoceros beetle lifts 850 times its weight, using it to flip rivals in territorial combat. But the verified record belongs to the horned dung beetle, Onthophagus taurus, which pulls 1,141 times its own body weight. That number needs context. If a 70-kilogram human could match that ratio, you'd be dragging 6 fully loaded double-decker buses down the street. With your hands, on foot. The dung beetle does this to move balls of feces. That's its life. The physics behind this is the square cube law. As an animal gets larger, its volume and weight increase faster than the cross-sectional area of its muscles. A beetle scaled up to human size wouldn't be a superhero. It would collapse under its own mass. But at insect scale, the muscle-to-weight ratio is absurdly favorable. Add an exoskeleton, an external frame that muscles push against directly, and you get a biomechanical system optimized for proportional power in a way that no internal skeleton can replicate. This is why the strongest animals on Earth, by the most honest measurement, are almost always the smallest. But even the dung beetle doesn't hold the most extreme title. That belongs to something much weirder. The peacock mantis shrimp is about 15 centimeters long, brightly colored, looks almost cartoonish, and it carries, folded beneath its head, one of the most sophisticated weapon systems in the natural world. The striking appendage is shaped like a club. It's held in place by a latch mechanism compressed against a saddle-shaped spring made of a bioceramic composite, so resilient that materials scientists have published multiple papers trying to reverse engineer it. The saddle stores elastic energy like a drawn crossbow, allowing the shrimp to deliver power that its muscles alone could never generate. When the latch releases, the club accelerates from 0 to 23 meters per second in under 3 milliseconds. That's the acceleration of a .22 caliber bullet from a shrimp. But the club is only half the weapon. When it moves through water at that velocity, the water can't fill the vacuum left behind. A cavitation bubble forms in the gap between the club and the target. Microseconds later, that bubble collapses, and the implosion releases a secondary shockwave that strikes the target almost simultaneously with the physical blow. The mantis shrimp punches twice with every swing, once with its fist, once with physics. The collapsing bubble compresses its interior gas to temperatures estimated between 4,400 and 20,000 degrees Celsius. The surface of the Sun is about 5,500. For a nanosecond, in a space smaller than a grain of sand, a shrimp creates conditions that rival a star, and it produces light, actual visible photons. The phenomenon is called sonoluminescence, and physicists still don't fully understand why it happens. What they know is that the bubble collapse is so violent it converts mechanical energy into electromagnetic radiation. A shrimp punching a crab generates a flash of light through the same basic physics that powers the sun. The strike force is 1,500 newtons, over 2,500 times the animal's own weight. Mantis shrimp crack crab shells, shatter clam armor, and have been documented breaking aquarium glass. They're kept in reinforced tanks because standard ones don't survive. Divers who handle them carelessly end up with fractured fingers. This is the peak of the speed and force arms race, a weapon honed by hundreds of millions of years of predator-prey escalation compressed into 15 centimeters of crustacean, delivering a blow that briefly recreates conditions found in the cores of collapsing stars. You'd think that's the end of the story. It isn't. The strongest biological material on Earth doesn't punch, doesn't bite, doesn't move at all. It grows inside the mouth of a limpet. Limpets are small, conical-shelled snails that cling to rocks along every coastline in the world. They feed by scraping algae off stone using a tongue-like ribbon called a radula, which is covered in rows of microscopic teeth. Those teeth drag across solid rock thousands of times without breaking. In 2015, researchers at the University of Portsmouth used atomic force microscopy to test the tensile strength of limpet tooth material at the atomic scale. What they found stunned materials science. The teeth measured between 3.0 and 6.5 gigapascals of tensile strength. For comparison, spider silk, the previous record holder for strongest biological material, tops out at 4.5 gigapascals. Standard steel sits around 1.6. High-performance Terray T 1000G carbon fiber, one of the strongest materials humans have ever manufactured, reaches 6.5. Limpet teeth match the best carbon fiber on Earth. A snail produces, as routine biology, a material that an entire aerospace engineering industry struggles to fabricate. The structure is made of goethite nanofibers, iron-based mineral filaments packed at high density within a protein matrix. The fibers are so thin that they fall below the critical size at which structural defects cause failure. The teeth are essentially too small for flaws to weaken them. Its strength through atomic-level perfection, and unlike spider silk, which has proven maddeningly difficult to synthesize in a lab, limpets grow new rows of these teeth continuously throughout their lives. The strongest material in biology isn't rare. It isn't hidden. It's on every rocky shoreline on the planet, growing inside an animal that most people wouldn't pick up off the ground. 500 million years ago, the strongest thing on Earth was a sponge, which is to say, the strongest thing on Earth had zero strength, no muscles, no structure, no force. Today, a fossilized shark bit through whales. A crocodile snaps shut with 3,700 pounds per square inch and hasn't needed a redesign in 80 million years. A beetle drags 1,000 times its weight through dirt. A shrimp punches hard enough to create light and plasma, and a snail grows teeth that rival the strongest material human civilization has ever engineered. Strength isn't a single number. It's a spectrum of solutions, each one calibrated to a specific problem, refined across millions of generations. The giants win when the problem is moving mass. The insects win when the problem is ratio. The shrimp wins when the problem is breaking armor. And the snail wins when the problem is endurance against stone. Evolution didn't crown a champion, it built an arsenal. And the most overlooked weapon in the collection might be clinging to a rock right now, somewhere between the tide line and the open sea, scraping algae with a tooth stronger than steel. If this changed how you think about strength, subscribe for more content like this.